Hello my friends and welcome back to a new reading wrap up. It's time to talk about the books I read in November. I must say though that I did not read as much as I would have liked to because there were some changes in my life. I started a new job, so my reading routine is completely messed up right now and I have to figure out how I'm gonna develop a new one going forward because I'm not at the level where I usually want to read at, but we'll see. I did manage to read 4 books, one of which is the reread. I reread Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets for the Harry Potter special that I filmed the other week. So if you have not checked out the Harry Potter special yet, please do so now. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I wanted to hold it into the camera for the sake of showing you everything that I did read this month. There are 3 more books, and the common theme seems to be that I have a really hard time giving them stars. Like, my opinion on them is like not set. Like, I don't really know. You'll see when I tell you about them. But yeah, I'm happy to show you what I did read, and I hope you enjoy. The first book I want to talk about is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. It is a mystery and we follow a character called Hannah. She's married to Owen for about a year when all of a sudden he goes missing. And the only thing he leaves behind is a note that says protect her. Hannah knows right away he means Bailey, who is his daughter from a previous marriage, Hannah's stepdaughter. Hannah and Bailey, their relationship is not the best. Bailey is a teenager and she's not really accepting Hannah yet in her life, but once Owen goes missing, they kind of get together and they understand, okay, we're left now. We got to find out what happened. We got to work together and see why our husband/father has just disappeared from the earth. It starts getting interesting when all of a sudden the FBI turns up at the house, US Marshals, and everybody has questions, and turns out Owen was not really who he said he was. So together they go through his past and find out his secret that he has been hiding. And yeah, so the book, I love mysteries, and I thought that the situation was very interesting in the beginning. I liked following Hannah and her stepdaughter around and like seeing how they find clues about his life. In the end, the revelation, I don't really know what to think about it, because on the one hand, it was not the ending I had imagined. It's not really a happy ending, but at the same time, it is kind of a heroic ending. Hannah does something that I can just bow my head to, and she's being so strong, a very strong woman for her and for Bailey. So yeah, I have a hard time judging that. It definitely made me think a lot, and I thought back to that ending many times, which I guess that's a good sign, right? It like really moved something in me. I must say though that in general, in total, the book did not captivate me as much as I thought. It was a fast read, but mysteries I usually swallow. I like read them in a day or two, and this one took me a little longer, so it was good. I don't really have many critique points, but somehow it didn't catch me like totally. So maybe 3 out of 5 stars. I think that sounds about right. Okay, next I read Stephen King Fairy Tale. It is a fantasy book, and Stephen King wrote this during the pandemic. It was just now published, I think 2 months ago. And yeah, it's about a character called Charlie. He's a high school student, and his life hasn't been easy. When he was young, he lost his mother in a tragic accident, and after that his father started drinking. So Charlie had a really hard time, and at the time he used to pray and was saying basically, please, I don't want to lose another parent. Please make my dad get better, and I'll do anything you want. His dad gets better, so Charlie always had this feeling that he owes something to somebody, to fate, to whatever you want to call it. And then one day, fate is calling in this favor, because Charlie is coming home from school and he finds an old guy, his name is Mr. Bowditch, in a peculiar situation. He had an accident. And basically Charlie helps him, he gets him to the hospital, and after that helps him in general in the household, around his house, because he's had an injury, he can't really take care of everything anymore. So Charlie becomes kind of the caretaker of this older guy and his dog. He has a dog, and Charlie loves the dog. Raider is the name of the dog. He loves hanging out with Raider, and yeah, takes care of Mr. Bowditch. There's also in the backyard a strange shed through which, through the door, sometimes you hear strange noises. The dog seems to be very wary of that shed for some reason, but Charlie doesn't snoop around. He's a good kid. So he's just taking care of the guy until one day he dies and leaves him a cassette tape in which he explains that in the shed is the entrance to another world. So Charlie goes there with the dog and comes to find out that this other world has a big problem. An evil power is reigning, and he starts to empathize with the people, and in the end basically is leading the fight against evil in this other world. That's the basic storyline. And this book there were basically 3 different parts for me. So we don't get to this other world until I think page 200. So it takes a very long time until we do. But I didn't find that slow. I really enjoyed the build up, and Stephen King just has this ability to write a story where right away, you just get absorbed. So that's what happened to me. I didn't mind at all that it was until page 200 that we discovered the world. So I enjoyed the beginning. However, then in this other world, that's another section, Charlie travels a lot. It takes him a while till he gets to this town where the evil resides. And this passage of just traveling through the countryside was to me so slow and boring that I didn't really get much out of it. And it really dragged itself. Stephen King wrote a lot about just Charlie's travel from place A to place B. So that's my main critique point. I did not like that passage. Once Charlie got to the city and basically encountered the evil, it got good again. I was again invested in the story. I loved reading what's happening. And yeah, all throughout the end, although there's still a little bit of travel going on, but yeah, in the end it captivated me again, and I was fully immersed. But yeah, so I have a really hard time telling you what I'm thinking, because there were basically 3 different sections. But I mean, all in all, if you like Stephen King, this is a great read. It's not horror, it's really fantasy, and I enjoyed following the story and had a really good time. So all in all, yeah, it's not 4 stars, but it's more than 3. Let's just put it at that. The last book I want to talk about is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I have seen Sally Rooney's names all over the place. I have seen this novel all over the place. There are many great reviews. People love it. So I thought, okay, I have to find out what this is all about. Unfortunately, it was not my favorite read, but that's okay. Not every book is for everybody, but I want to still talk about it. So in this story, we follow a young girl. She's going to college. Her name is Frances. She's best friends with Bobby, who's also a very interesting character. Both of them have their unique, quirky characteristics. They go to university and they're very much into literature. One of their favorite things to do is perform poems on stage. And it is at one of their performances that they meet a couple that takes an interest in them. So this couple, they're Melissa and Nick. Nick is an actor, Melissa is a photographer, and she writes blogs about artists and everything, and she wants to write a blog entry or a portrait about Frances and Bobby. So she invites them over into their house, and gradually they all become, I guess you could say, friends. They become involved in each other's lives, which is interesting because there's actually an age gap between the 4 of them. But however, Frances and Nick do more than just, stay friends. Eventually, they start an affair. So that's the basic storyline, and it's about, you know, how this affair affects Frances, how it affects the friendship between Frances and Bobby, Nick's life, Nick and Melissa. You know, you can see like basically all the, how do you say it, like when you throw a stone in the water, all the ripple effects this has. So I have to say that the book was, wished it was more, I was thinking it was going to be more unique. The storyline, you know, we've heard it many times, and there were some unique aspects, but in the end, it was just how I expected it. Like, especially the ending. I felt Frances took so many turns, like she developed her character really a lot over the book, and then in the end, she made a decision that, you know, basically, in my opinion, brought her back to where she started in the beginning. Also, I couldn't really relate to the character. I was at times furious and just like at a loss when I read how, you know, the decisions she made or the things she said or didn't say. So I don't know, I just couldn't really relate to her, unfortunately. Those are my main critique points. And yeah, on top of that, I didn't really feel the chemistry between Nick and Frances. Didn't feel that at all, especially from Nick's part. So that was lacking for me too. However, what I did like was the friendship between Frances and Bobby. I thought that was interesting. And as I said, to see how this affair influences all of that. I also thought that Frances is a very intelligent woman, and she always engages in discussions about the world and her world views and topics, you know, that she thinks, like in politics or in general, that are like wrong, or her opinion on them are very interesting. I really enjoyed reading about that. Rooney had some very interesting thoughts in there. So that part I liked. As I said, I just couldn't really relate to her when it came to her actions and to her feelings, but that's just me. I know a lot of people love this book, so if you think the storyline sounds interesting, if you like stories about friendships and with a little bit of a love story sprinkled in and how that affects it, then you should check this out. I think I'll give it 3 out of 5 stars. But all in all, I mean, it was a quick read for me too. So that was everything I wanted to show you today. As I said, I have to get back into my reading rhythm, and I really hope maybe by next month that I have more of a routine. But if not, you know, reading is a hobby. It's supposed to be fun, so I'm not going to force anything. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and bye-bye.